If you're a wedding photographer and you love flat lays as much as I do, make sure you watch this video. It's a showcase of all these different flat lays that I pulled randomly off the internet that I'm like, wow, this one is really amazing. And I'm drawing my own inspiration from them, and I hope that they can inspire you also. So I actually post a new video every single week for wedding photographers here on this YouTube channel. So if that's you, make sure you hit that subscribe button and let's get into the showcase. What I pulled is this beautiful flat lay. I thought this was really cool. This is not my photo. The photo credit is Anna Rosos, and I'll link all the photo credits down in the description below. So let's look at this one first. So the first thing that I noticed is there's that photo frame in the middle of the flat lay, which is really unique, and it's a piece of art in the frame. And it is a picture of flowers that match the ones in the flat lay. So like on the top left, you see there. What I love about calling this one a vintage elegance inspo flat lay. What I love about this is it kind of gives that vintage, elegant, rooted in history look, and I'm thinking of how we can incorporate some things that are in here into our own work. So if you're a photographer kind of drawn to that vintage piece, or that is a little bit like a fine art piece, maybe adding some photo frames with framed art would be great. I also love this historic photo of, I don't know if she's a princess or like what she is, but that photo of her is cool. I noticed that there's grain in this style of flat lay. So the envelope looks a little muddy. The writing is grainy, and the background, if you look at the grain and kind of, I don't want to say dirt, but it looks like it's like etched in the background, and that's kind of all working together. Check this one out. So this is really cool. I have not done anything like this, but I am actually obsessed with it, even if you're not going for that vintage look. It is a photo frame also, and she put the shoes, look how they're on top of it, and then I love how the necklace is coming out of the frame. So this is really amazing, fantastic, unique, so many words, composition. Really unique composition that my brain, I'm not sure would come up with bringing something square in a frame and putting the shoes like that. So this looks like it's the bride's shoes and jewelry. So one thing that there's no stationery in here, and I talk about this in other videos. Sometimes photographers throw things that don't make sense into flat lays. So there's no stationery, there's no wax seals, there's no stamps, which makes this like a consistent flat lay. Just a side note on that. But I love this. I love that the frame of the square also matches the gold circle frame. And she's kind of mixing metals, which I usually don't do. I usually try to stick to gold or silver, but it looks like there's a little bit of silver in the earrings at the bottom. I'm calling Storybook Fairy Tale. Isn't this one fun? So what I love about this, I like how none of the stationery in this flat lay is actually really overlapping that much. Like, it's rare in a flat lay that you'll see the envelope on the top left completely not, it's by itself, there's no paper over it. I feel like that's rare. And I also kind of like how none of the pieces look completely cohesive. Like, there's black on the envelope, and then the top right is blue. And whoever styled this flat lay kind of went with the fact that the imitation doesn't really match. So the flowers are all different pieces, and everything is kind of standing alone in this flat lay. It's also very full and a lot of layers. So even the circle on the bottom, the tray, is kind of like one layer, and then this person has like 2 or 3 layers on top of that. So this is a really unique way. You see the flowers on the top of the tray, how they're going kind of diagonal. I feel like that's also really unique, because I don't always do that. I don't always make a shape out of the flowers, so that's why I wanted to include it. But it's creating a diagonal shape on the top, and then it's also creating a diagonal shape on the bottom. And I think it's interesting how the greens are not the same green. So whoever did this is kind of like making things play and stand alone by themselves. Okay guys, I'm obsessed with this one. I'm calling it Summer Blooms. This is by photographer Afrique Armando. This is really cool. So look at this flat lay. The first thing I notice is that the invitations and the background kind of match in color. Usually I try to pick a contrasting. I'm wondering what this wedding looks like if the linens are this linen, because that would be really amazing, really cohesive. The second thing I noticed is that this flat lay is 50% florals and 50% the actual invitation suite. That's a lot of florals. So usually I feel like when you see a flat lay, it's like 10% of it has florals, or they're in the corner, or they're like an accent piece. They're very much equal to the flat lay in this, which is such a unique like piece of inspiration for us if we have a wedding heavy in florals, to kind of draw that inspiration into the flat lay. I'm assuming this wedding is really heavy in florals, and that works perfectly to kind of make that the focal point. I know I had a wedding last year where the bride grew all the flowers in her own garden, so like this would have been a great idea for a flat lay for her to really just take it to the next level with the florals in the flat lay. But he's not just thrown, or she, I'm sorry, they have not just thrown florals into this flat lay. They have a design to them. So I like how they're making a shape coming out of the top going in diagonal, coming out of the bottom going diagonal, actually similar to the one we just saw. So yeah, I think this is beautiful. They're props. There's no other styling items except florals, so that's like a unique, I feel like a little bit of a strategic choice. There's no dishes, there's no nothing, and I think that is what really accents the floral. So if you have a wedding coming up really heavy in florals, maybe try something like this for your flat lay. I wish this was like live so we could like talk about these together. So this one is, I'm calling modern minimalism, even though it's actually not that minimalist. It's still a pretty, you know, heavy flat lay. Actually, it's very interesting how the stationery is laid out. I see it in stages. So like the bottom envelope, black envelope, has one stage, and then another stage, and then another stage. That's why I included this in here, because I feel like so often we put the actual invitation, the white piece of paper, in the middle, and this person has staged it around the back of the invitation, which is really unique. So I'm going to remember this. So it's changing the focal point of the flat lay. That's why I thought this one was really interesting. But black flowers are always fun, always interesting. Usually I feel like I pick flowers that are not the same color as the envelope, but this one it's done really well. So I really like this one. Okay, so this one is just a random one. I don't have a name for this. If you guys have a name for this one, go ahead, put it in the comments. I just wanted to add it. What I love about this is how the flowers are coming out of the invitation. That's like so unique. I've never done that, so I'm gonna definitely do that. I like how they're also kind of mimicking shape from the top left flowers to the bottom right. And I like the scissors, and I like the little fabric. But what's unique about this is definitely the flowers coming out of the envelope. And I also like the background here. I feel like off-white invitation suites are always tricky, because you never know if you want to go with a white background or a colored background when it's an off-white invitation. It's different than having a colored invitation. It's like, what do you do? So that's why I also wanted to include it, because it's white background with an off-white invitation suite, which sometimes feels like it clashes, but I really like this. And you know why I feel like it works? Because the photo has white flowers and off-white flowers in it, and I feel like that's what's making it kind of all run together. Like the top left, you see there's a white flower and then a beige flower, so I feel like that is what's actually bringing it together. I feel like if we took that out, maybe it wouldn't be so cohesive. But I love this, and I think it's really fun. There's some really fun things in here that we can like use as inspiration. There are so many ways to draw inspiration as a wedding photographer. I loved creating a showcase. I also love going to art museums. I also love shooting Super 8 film and other formats of photography and video that I don't do for weddings in my personal life, just to change formats, to stay inspired, to change things up. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please leave a link below to any flat lays you want me to do another showcase about. If you're like, oh my god, this one is amazing, I would love to see it. And if you want to see me style a flat lay, make sure you head to the next video. Maybe I'll use some of these tips that I learned in this inspiration video, and I will see you there.